Well, I don't know if it's coming up or not, but we're live, look.
There's usually a little box that says, you will see comments here. Did we get that?
We didn't get that, no.
That's bad.
Right, let's do that again.
Let's have to wait and see in case we see if we get anybody.
Oh, there's an eye.
Hello, there's someone there.
Somebody's there and there's a little round thing
Yeah.
over there, so maybe there.
Perhaps we will get the comment things.
Yeah.
But no.
We won't be able to read them anyway, so it doesn't
No, but if someone gives us a little thumbs up, we'll know. Hello, those that are coming in.
Yeah, look,
there we
there's
go.
a something.
There we go.
Excellent. Welcome to the wonderful Heron's Lodge.
Yeah, it's nice and warm in here. We've had the heating on.
Yeah, it's good.
We've had to get lights from everywhere,
Yes.
so we're not in the dark.
Well, light only works in the dark. Without darkness, light's irrelevant. It's true. You light a candle on a sunny day, it's just a candle lit. You light it in a dark night, it illuminates everything.
Yeah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, well, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. That's it, they're all going to be going home now. I think they're going wrong.
Yeah, that's some weird a cappella gig.
Oh, it's so nice to see so many of you coming on, and we've still got a minute or so to wait.
Yeah, we're just babbling and wasting time while people
we're
arrive,
sitting here
so.
feeling really awkward and just like, what do we say? What do we do?
Yeah, now, well, we got things we can do.
Yeah, this little light of mine, well, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Excellent.
Ooh, bubbles.
Yeah. Maybe are we there?
Are we there? We are there.
We are there.
7:30.
Excellent.
So that's it. You know, me and Bruce were starting.
Sorry that everybody that's just arriving, sorry you missed the start and that was so in depth, but we'll try and catch you up slowly during the next hour and a half. And don't worry, you didn't miss too much. It was only the key information. Excellent. so I'm Bruce.
Oh dear, I'm Lynn. And as we said earlier, for those that missed it, we're in Heron's Lodge. So
yes.
welcome to Heron's Lodge, and welcome everyone. So nice to see so many of you coming on.
A gang
it really
of them,
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So an interesting journey. We're going to take you over the 2 nights, and tonight we're going to sort of go with those elements where we are on the wheel. It's fascinating to me, and I know it is to Bruce as well, but I mean, I just love all this, and the more connected you are, the better things can be. The more insight you have, the more understanding you gain.
So we're going to take you on a journey through the elements. I say a journey because we're going to take you on a cycle, really. We're going to take you on a cycle through the elements,
riding along,
which is also like it's like a cycle through the seasons or the day or life or whatever. Because we're working with the medicine wheel, which is really we can't talk about our connection to the elements without talking about the medicine wheel. So we thought we'd start by giving a bit of insight into the medicine wheel. And I'm sure a lot of you out there have heard of ideas of medicine wheels, and a lot of people, when they talk about medicine wheel, they immediately think of the Native American medicine wheel, but we're not in America. So we tend to use the Celtic medicine wheel because that's the medicine wheel of this land. You know, were we in America, we may well use the Native American medicine wheel, but for us, the Celtic medicine wheel is what we work with here.
And that's where we place all our, the elements for us, and that's the energy that we work with. And really, what is the medicine wheel? The medicine wheel is a circle. In a circle, it's a circle of power. And everything we do is a circle of power. This is the symbol that Bruce and I, we use for our medicine wheel teachings. You see it's circles within circles. And I mean, I wear it. It's on my wrist as well. It looks just like a little black blob on there, but this is the circles within the circles. And even that design takes in the moons, the full moon, the quarter moons, the dark moons. All the moons are in there as well. All the cross quarters are in there.
Cross quarters.
So everything is in that symbol.
When we think of this wheel being north and east for you, is it? One of those is east or west for you, and like south in the bottom. But as we journey around the wheel, we would also work with imagine the daytime runs from midnight, being 12 midnight at the top, and it's running through the dawn of the day, midday into the evening, or it could be the year from where we are now, where we're entering into winter, and winter it comes through into spring and summer and autumn back to winter, or life with you, or you coming in and you come into your birth, your life, your death, rebirth coming round. So these things, although we talk of them as circle, really they're, once you bring it into 3 dimensions, much of our life is a spiral of life, going round through these cycles, through the seasons, through the days, through our lives, through the years.
People are always quite surprised when we say to them, well, actually, you live a medicine wheel? And they say, what do you mean we live a medicine wheel? So say, well, you know, the dawn, the sun comes up, reaches its height at the midday, goes down at the west at the sunset, and then into the night time, the night. So it's a day is a medicine wheel, a week is the medicine wheel, a month is a medicine wheel, the year is the medicine wheel, your life from birth to death is the medicine wheel. And then it goes round again and again and again.
Yes, and you know, if you're reincarnating, you're doing spirals again, spirals of lives.
If you come back, yeah.
Well, if you don't believe it, you don't come back. If you do,
you believe it, you come back, yeah.
Excellent.
I love it.
We manifest our own reality in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and some things, you know, you might want to come back as a tree or a rock or something else, or the ocean. You might not want to come back as another human. I don't know if I'd want to come back as a human. A dog. My dogs get along.
I want to come back as a meteorite and smack this planet.
Anyway, that's another night, everybody. That's another night. Okay, so right now we're going to work on the Celtic medicine wheel, because that's how we work here. Now, even down to the Celtic medicine wheel, you're going to get contradictions. There's always someone that does it differently. Okay, I love the smiley faces. There's always someone that does it differently, and there'll always be someone saying, oh, you're not doing it right. Okay, we do it how we do it here, because this is the way we share it. We're going to offer you up a dinner again tonight. I always say this is my teachings. We give you a dinner which is dished up, and there's everything on this plate, from meat to potatoes to broccoli to spring greens to whatever. And you're going to eat some of it, and some of it's you're not going to want it, and some of it you're not going to like some of it. That's fine. Just push it to the side, because you might find a little bit later down the road, well, actually, I do like that actually now. I do like that spring greens. You know, that is palatable. So, you know, we're just going to dish it up for you tonight. You can take it. You can put it to one side. But we do hope that it helps you to gain a better understanding of how, once you can understand how you can bring those elements and work with those elements and bring those elements into your life, how they can help you and assist you on the physical journey of living. They're amazing.
Excellent.
Okay.
What I'm finding amazing is that we've talked all this time about medicine. We haven't mentioned one element yet. That's really interesting for them, isn't it?
It's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. And I was actually going to build up to that, because where we are on our medicine wheel, we're at the winter, so we're in the north.
We're in the dark.
We're in the dark, and on the medicine wheel, as we live it. That's what we do. We live it. The element is the element of earth for us in the north. Now, you will find this varies everywhere else. As I say, we're teaching, sharing with you our way. And it's the element of earth. And we're going to start with that, because that is where we are on the wheel. it's like if people come to me for stone readings, I do my own readings on stones, and when I do them, I work on the wheel. So whenever that person comes, wherever we are on that medicine wheel, is where I'll start the reading. So if we're in the autumn, I'll start in the autumn. If we're in the spring, I'll start in the spring. And that's how we'll work around that wheel, that medicine wheel. So I think that's, to me, I think you can't have one without the other. We needed to explain this to you. And there is so much contributing to each of the elements. We was trying to sort of look tonight thinking, I wanted to cover this. And I thought, no, that's too deep. That's a whole workshop on its own, because when we start looking at the elements in the physical body, because there's a way that you can understand earth elements within your own body as well. If you're too earthy or not earthy enough, if you're not grounded enough, or if you're too grounded.
This is where the medicine comes in, because we can use the medicine wheel to discern what our personal traits are and identify the elements that will be our medicine for the traits that we're either too strong in or too weak in, and we can work with them in a way. So this is where the medicine is, and we've been known quite often to actually make medicine wheels and get people to sit in it. One thing, to see where they're comfortable, but secondly, to see where they're uncomfortable. And any of you that have been on any courses or workshops with us will know that sometimes we play within the circle and move people around according to whether they're sitting where they're comfortable or not.
And interesting, like a little experiment now, because you're all sitting. I don't like to assume anything, but I dare say majority of you are sitting at home.
Hopefully you're not driving.
Yes, because you are breaking the law. You'll find in your home you sit where you're most comfortable. It would be very interesting for you to have a look and see where you're not comfortable, where you sit in another corner, move yourself off into another corner, and then work out which direction that is. Because that's the one that you need to be working with at that moment in time. Is that it's where you're not comfortable that you need to look at. I hope that makes sense to you, because being in our comfort, we're not going to express and we're not going to grow. So it is finding out where you're not comfortable, and you'll set your home up to be comfortable. So just have a little look at that and see if you know where your directions are. That's quite a good place to start, actually.
I can see Lynn wondering why I'm titillating and laughing away, and it's because anybody that knows me, I live in a van, so I can sit in the same place but face a different direction.
But it's like me at home. I mean, I think it's because I'm so connected that I'll sit on one sofa and feel really, really comfortable. Another day I'll sit there and I'm not comfortable, and it's usually because of what direction it's in. And then I look at it and I realise that's why I'm feeling like that. That's why, because the sofas are exactly the same, So it's a very good thing to do. Now, I was a little bit surprised a while back that when we took a group out, and there was only a couple of them that actually knew the directions. So, get yourself a compass if you really need one. But
know who you are.
Yeah, but best off is to trust your intuition. But one thing that you really always can trust is the sun. So unless it's a really, really cloudy day, but normally it's to always look where the sun is, because the sun goes around the medicine wheel, wherever you are. So that's an interesting one. So look at the sun. But that these are the things. So why connect? Now we're going to run through this. Where we're starting tonight is in the north, as we said to you, which is the element of earth, and that's because where we are on the wheel. And then we're going to be talking about the east, the air. So they're the two elements we're working with tonight. Yeah. Earth and air. I love all of the elements. All of the elements bring such great teachings. Now, there's a couple of chants as well. You find that if you do your own ceremonies or your own rituals, that the more connected you become with these elements as you work with them, the more you'll be getting. And I've been gifted, and so we've been gifted so many different chants and so many different things. But there was one chant that was gifted to us many years ago. I was we were in Limerick in Ireland, it's a big circle called Grange out there, and I was given it. It's a very simple chant, and you can take it anywhere. It doesn't matter, wherever you go in the whole of the world, it's appropriate to use that there, because it's very simple, because it's just you're calling to the spirits of the place to say you honour them, and then it's north, east, south and west, above and below.
I think that's lovely. You know, we should make them wait till the end of part 2 for that chant.
Yes, okay, we'll make that.
So yeah, something to look forward to next Friday at the towards the end of the evening.
And, you know, unless you've been to any Touch Earth concerts in Glastonbury, because it's one that we always use in Glastonbury now, because it really sets that energy. But yeah, we will go to that one next week.
Yeah.
But you know, that's nice. So, you know, why connect? You know, okay, so we know these elements are there. Why do we want to connect to these elements? Think about that.
Yeah.
What point is there?
What do you think? Is there any point?
You know, we can, you know, if you want to type something in, do type something in, you know, give us your ideas and we can read them later.
We can read them later. We can't read anything. I saw that there was a really big message before the one-line message with a green heart. So thank you for the love.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very the screen is quite away from us, so we can't really see it. But you know, so why do we connect to these elements?
I think we already really touched on that when we were talking about creating medicine wheels, sitting inside a medicine wheel, seeing those aspects of you that are maybe in your personality that are stronger or need to be strengthened. But also, remember we were talking about these cycles of life and the cycles of the day and the year. You know, so really keeping us connected and in tune with nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the ultimate there.
And nature, I've always said nature is the best teacher we have. You know, nature teaches us so much if we take the time to go out there and look at it and be with it and become at one with it. There's this thing about you can go out and look at it, and then there's another thing, you can go out and be it. And that's what we say, you know, you go out and you be it. And when we go out and we go places, you know, I always say, well, people say to me, is it going to rain? Oh, I don't know. You know, how do I know? You think I'm psychic? No.
Smell the air.
And, you know, is it going to be cold? Well, how do I know? You know, but I always say that there's no such thing as bad weather, just badly dressed people. So, you know, but to really go out and feel the elements, I mean, you can't beat it, you know, you really can't, because having that connection, and the more connected you will become to those elements, the more in depth and the more understanding you have of those elements, you will actually be able to see those traits in other people and think you'll be able to see, I'm not talking about judging anybody here, but you'll be able to see whether or not somebody's grounded or not grounded, because you know it in yourself. You know when you're not feeling grounded and you think, oh, all right, I've got to go and get grounded. You know, the way we work shamanically, we are incredibly grounded. You know, I mean, you know us, and a lot of you hopefully know us very well, and we're very real with what we do. And even like with this medicine wheel, you know, it's not difficult. We can make it difficult. We can make it really, really difficult.
And we could make it expensive.
And we can make it really expensive. We could do a lot with it. You know, you could come on we can make the course last a year and cost you £2,000. You know. But it's simple. It's simple. Yeah. And when you know the power of the circle, and then you can go out and create just a circle in the element and working within that element that you're getting to connect with, it's a very empowering and a very powerful thing to do. Mm-hmm. Very powerful thing to do. Many years ago, I'll share how powerful the circle is, and connecting to that element. A very good friend of mine, when I was over in Medusa in New Mexico, he said, oh, I'm so glad that you're here on a full moon. I said, oh, are we going to go out and do some ceremony? You know, no, I want you to see what my dog does. Really? Sort of like a bit of a, you know, this is not, you know, I was out there with these people, you know, we're going to go and do ceremony, but he wants me to see his dog. But what happened about 3 nights on the build up towards this full moon, the dog would go out, come in, and you hear clunk, 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 and he would drop, or she would drop stones, quite big stones, from her mouth. And then she nuzzled them into a circle, and on the full moon she'd sit in it. And I actually see this dog do that, and I thought, wow, how connected that dog was to that everything, to the moon, to the earth, to the stones. She was very grounded in that circle. And the full moon, she didn't go off. She was able to really connect the dog. She didn't come out of it all night. She just stayed in that circle. That's a fascinating, and it is a true story. So, I love it.
So we're trying to get you to do what the dog does as well. It's to make its own circle and sit in it. We've had a lot of other people do it. Don't diss it because it was a dog's idea. It's a great way of looking into yourself by doing something very simple in the physical world, to create a circle with stones and just like make it big enough to move around so you can differentiate the sides, but you can just get in there and see how it feels. You create the circle, you create an energy, and you get in there.
And so, why connect? So we're saying, if the more connected you are, the higher you can attain spiritually, because you are grounded. Now, we're starting in the north, which is the earth, and the earth is a very grounded place to be.
The most grounded.
It is the most grounded, and and if you create a circle, you don't have to go out and create circles to actually feel these elements, by the way. But it's I think with the circles, it's really more empowering as well. But just go out and stand, just stand there. But you create that circle, and you're sitting on the earth. Yeah. How connected is that?
There's so many ways of connecting to the earth. Like, take your shoes off, go out barefoot. I know it's a bit chilly at the moment, but amazing to connect to the earth like that. Play in the mud. Make something with clay. I know there's a lot of people who enjoy crafting this time of year. What great thing to have the soil and the earth in your hands and to create things. We've often, with groups, we've created things from clay, from the earth, to then go back and give back as gifts back to the earth.
Yeah, and you don't have to have kilns, because you can get air drying clay, which is not expensive either, and you can just go and, as Bruce said, it's amazing. Go and sit yourself under a tree and work with the clay.
Roots of the tree.
There is just so many ways. So let's think of some other ways that we connect with that element of earth. The drum. The drum for me is one of the most, the instrument that connects to the earth, because it's that heartbeat. It's the heartbeat of the mother. It's the heartbeat that we feel that connection to. So the drum's a lovely way to connect to the earth, standing on the earth with the drum and feeling that rhythm and feeling that through your feet. It's beautiful.
Didgeridoo is really of
very
that frequency, of that low bass frequency,
And that, there is just so many ways. Just gardening as well is a lovely way of connecting with the earth. Growing your own vegetables, growing your own, your own sustenance, and having that connection with that's beautiful. That's a really lovely way to connect with the earth.
Hugging a tree.
Going in a cave. Going into the belly of the mother. That is just awesome, isn't it? To go. I've been very blessed to go into some amazing caves, in certain places. And there was a huge one we went to in New Mexico. Never been anything like it.
Caves, chasms, and tunnels, valleys, gorges, all those places where you feel that you're really in the earth, in that earth energy.
And it's exciting, and it's lovely to feel the earth beneath your toes and feel it oozing out. Here on a lodge day, and I'm going to bring the lodge into this now, because the lodge is the ultimate of Mother Earth. It's the representation of the womb. And we have the sweat lodges here on as near to, I'd like to have them on the eve of the Celtic festivals. It's impractical for us to do that, because the firekeepers, they're dedicated firekeepers, they work. A lot of people work, and it's not so easy to have it on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night. So we usually go with the nearest Saturday to help people. But we still attune ourselves to that. Now, in our lodge, we don't just go within those an east door. A lot of lodges are only ever done on an east door. But if we were going into lodge now, we'd go in on the north door, because the north is where we are on the wheel. We're in that place. I can't imagine, why would you want to go through a south door or an east door when you're in the north.
And we should also explain, those of you that don't think that winter has started, actually Samhain for us on the Celtic wheel was the start of winter. That would have been the first time we went through a winter door. So although autumn's still happening, autumn's now phasing out while winter is phasing in, if you like. There's a roll to it. So it's not like, oh, 7 o'clock on the 30th, that season's over now, we're on the next one. It's not really like that. And you'll see that our ancestors, what they did was they marked the heights of the season. And the cross quarters were the time of the centre of the fade, if you like, from season to season. So you see how, like we said, we couldn't talk about elements without talking about the medicine wheel, because now we're on the earth, we're talking about sweat lodge, and as Lynn was saying with the doors, the sweat lodge is a medicine wheel in itself. It marks out. And one of the things I really love about the lodge is because we use the different doors, when you look at the imprint of the lodge on the earth, it has a hand that goes round that marks the season. You can look at the lodge and see quite clearly, because this is the way that people have come in and the rocks have come in most recently. It looks like a clock in the earth, you know. So you really, that's another reason why doing a practice like the sweat lodge, where you're going into that mother's belly, brings you in tune, you know, in so many ways. You see it, you feel it, it starts to become, I was going to say it becomes more real, but it's never any less real. It's just your awareness of the cycles becomes more relevant and more upfront and more obvious eventually, until you couldn't, it becomes so obvious that you can't ignore it, if you like.
And the lodge is one place where all of the elements come together there. You know, they all come together in that ceremony to make that ceremony what it actually is. So we're working with all of the elements there. But we're concentrating on the north and the east and the earth at the moment, and the air and the east. But it's amazing, because, as I say, you know, you are so grounded. And where I was coming from here is, you know, because we have them all through the season, so we go through all the weathers. So our lodges, I mean, sometimes we come out and we're literally shivering because it's so cold, and the earth is oozing between our toes. There was one lodge I had to have 3 showers before I could really get the mud out my hair and out of my toes, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the mud. You know, my antlers that I used to take the rocks in was like clogged in mud. But it's not mud, it's the earth. Because when you say mud, you feel it's something dirty. It's not. It's the mother. It's lovely. I remember one year at the healing weekend, it rained and rained and rained and rained, and it was, we were like nearly knee deep in it, and it was one of the best trance dances Touch the Earth had ever done, because everyone was so grounded.
It was really lovely until they put straw everywhere,
there was
and
straw,
it became like
wattling,
wattling, so it all just stuck to everybody.
Yeah. But it was lovely dancing and we were dancing in that, doing a trance dance.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we did. We connected to trees, if I remember rightly, but it was connecting to that earth, and it was just amazing. And I mean, I love to get mud in my hair and connect to the earth that way, and I like the smell of it. There's something about it that's just very, it's very primal as well, and I think we are so disconnected nowadays. That's the trouble, you know, because we're in but there are so many aspects to this that we can bring into this, you know. So we're in the north, we're working with the element of earth. You want earthy foods. It's cold, you need warming foods.
Root vegetables.
Meat, if you're a meat eater. If you're not, protein. You need the protein at this time of year. You know, you take an Eskimo and put him on salad, he'd die. You know, there's no 2 ways about it.
He probably wouldn't understand that it was food.
No. You know, so even that is I'll try and find the book. I was talking to Bruce earlier. Very good friend of mine, Andy Baggett. He's got one of his books goes into about how the elements fit in with the body functions as well, which is really, really interesting. I'll see if I can find it, and if I don't put it up on this I'll put it up on the shamanic page for you when I do know which book it is. I just can't remember the title off now. But it's very interesting when you start actually looking at the elements and your physical body, its weaknesses and its strengths. Are you too earthy? Or are you not earthy? Are you grounded, ungrounded? Are you too airy fairy, not airy enough? So I don't mean hairy, I mean airy. Anyway, so
Excellent.
but the thing is as well, and you can make it fun. So there is so many ways. So let's have a little run through because we want to get into air as well.
I've got one other thing that's quite a fun one, but you may or may not want to do it. But if you dig a hole, stick your head in it and fill it back up again, you're really connected to the earth. Plant your head.
Yeah. But it's like when you go in the sand, isn't it? And the kids dig a hole and they cover you in sand. There is something quite nice about it. There is places you can go and get buried, but I don't really dig that.
You're not the digger.
No, not really. No, I don't really like that one very much. Because I think, well, you're going to be dead a long time, so I'll experience that then. Thank you. But so there are numerous ways. So go out and please interact with us. Please tell us. Go onto the group page or on here. Let us know how you find ways of connecting with Earth. So let's just run through some of those things that you can do to connect to the Earth. Walk out on the earth barefoot. Let the mud ooze between your toes.
Play with clay.
Sit under a tree.
Sit in the roots of the tree.
Smell the earth.
Go into gorges and canyons.
Caves.
Yeah, the undergrowth. Play in the undergrowth.
Eat warming foods.
Bury your head in a hole.
That carries a health warning.
I've recommended it to somebody and they did it, but that's another story anyway, completely. Needless to say, if you're in the desert without water for long enough, you go a bit crazy.
Do a sweat lodge. That connects you to earth. Play a drum. That connects you to earth. Listen
to a drum. Listen to some didge music. Play some didge music. Play some drum.
Lay on the earth.
Lay on the earth, yeah.
There's always a difference. I was talking to somebody today about the smell. Because I was trying to establish if they liked a particular smell. And she said fresh air. And I said, well, every season brings with it a different smell. So there's still a different smell in the air. Yeah. I can smell snow. When snow's on its way, I can smell it. People look at me as if I'm crazy. But I can smell snow.
I can smell the rain.
You can smell the rain when it comes. And what about the rain when it hits the earth on a hot day? And you get that beautiful fragrance come up. So there are so many, and there's lots of other ways I'm sure that, that we cauldron is another thing. It's a representation of earth. Use your cauldron if you've got a cauldron. Mine flew in by EasyJet. No, what's the other cheap budget airline? Ryanair, it flew in from Ryanair.
Anyway, but we're not getting paid by airlines.
No, we're not. Definitely
Excellent. Not. So that's... So are we going to move into air?
Yes, I think we'll move into air. I'm always reluctant, you see. I love Earth.
Everybody loves Earth because, we're very physical. We live in a physical world. Strangely enough, within the Vedic tradition, when they're healing with the elements, they never use the earth element. Isn't really recognised other than the foods and things being attributed to other energies. Because we live in a physical world, they see that it's the other aspects of us that need more healing. Don't know whether I agree with that. We live a physical world. If you're going to live on beef burgers forever, you're not actually going to be that healthy. So really,
depends if they're 100% meat.
There's or even vegan burgers.
Oh, don't start on the burgers again. No, not the burgers again,
Burgergate. Yeah. Anyway, so so thinking about the element of air then, moving in, if we imagine that wheel again. So if it's the wheel of the day, we're moving into the time of dawn, the dawn of the new day. If we were in the year, we'd be moving into the spring and the new growth and the newness starting. We're going to think more about the element of air and those sort of air's a fantastic thing, isn't it? You can feel the wind, you can see the wind's effects, but you can't actually see the wind or the air. It's that kind of thing that's almost, when we think in physical ways, it's just out of grasp because it's that invisible thing. But it's the breath that you breathe, that beautiful fresh air, and every breath invigorating you. You know, one of the easiest ways to connect with air is, for me, is always just to have an awareness of my breathing. You know, and that moment, as soon as I pull my awareness to my breathing, it's like the medicine itself, that the breath starts to slow, the breath starts to steady. I become aware of my heartbeat, I become aware of my physical, I become aware of all those other elements working. I become aware of the heat and the cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when it's a really cold, frosty day and you go out and you can see your breath. You know, I mean, the house that I grew up in, you could do that. It was so blooming cold in that house. But, you know, we didn't have central heating in those days, and pull the quilts, or the covers right up to here, the blankets up to here. We didn't even have quilts then, blankets up to here, which sort of left these big gaps down either side of you that was always cold.
My mum sewed us blankets. They were basically like a sleeping bag, but you could stick your feet out the bottom and walk around. And we lived in those things because it was, so, yeah, we didn't have anything else.
There was always something magic when you see your breath. You know, like if the windows steam up and you breathe on it and you can draw in it, that's another way. So there's lots of ways you can connect to air. Bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles are a great way to connect to air.
You know, I love to see the bubbles because you can really have a great way of connecting to air.
Yay!
Yay!
Bubbles!
And then also feathers. I mean, you know, shamanically we're always looking at the birds, and we love birds. They bring a lot of teaching. We make our medicine tools out of the feathers that they gift us. You know, so we can use our feathers for smudging, and air smudge is air as well. You know, candle is air. It's beautiful. I mean, I've got a feather here which we use for casting a circle, and you can feel the air when you do it. Don't think you can hear it on there. Don't think they hear.
No, I can't hear anything.
It gives a like.
That's lovely, yeah.
Sound. So
burning incense is a fantastic way, obviously, and we use a lot of sage here, which is for that cleansing purposes as well. You know, I was taught by one of my teachers in India. He said to me, "Oh, just remember, spirit feeds on scent because it has no physical body. So the scents are what attracts spirit to us." And well, anybody that works in that way, I think, would possibly agree that once you start to light some incense or smudge an area, you start to feel a change immediately as well.
You know, and go out in that wind and let the wind cleanse you. Let the wind blow through. You know, the cold wind can be just as invigorating as the warmer wind. Just let the winds blow through you and just stand there and let that embrace you. You know, and just feel the connection to air. You know, play the flute or any wind instrument, sing, the voice, it's all the air. Screaming.
Let it out into the wind. Yeah. It's, and like those of you that have come with us to Dartmoor and know what it's like to scream. Those of us, we scream in the lodge as well.
Yeah, workshops we've done. Screams.
Yeah, sometimes right into our ears. It's really terrible. But we learned our lessons. We face people in a different direction now.
Yeah, we turn them out.
But all these things are using the air for that same medicine. And the air in the east.
Yeah. And you know, there's just so many ways again that you can connect to air. You know, going up somewhere high, even up to the top of the hill. You know, whether it's a hill out in the countryside or a hill in the town. But when the wind is blowing and that whips through, it's an incredible cleansing. It's a refreshing thing to be a part of. And and when you're indoors and there's a storm and the winds are really lashing out there, or the seas are rough, and the wind is really blowing on the ocean, it's all so stimulating and so cleansing. And so, so when we said about how can connecting to these elements help us, they can help us in so many ways. Physically, they help us, but spiritually, they really connect us to those elements that we find within ourselves, that we go out. When I go out in nature, I feel so connected to it's like, since the start of the very first lockdown, I've walked my track two, maybe 3 times a day. Normally it's twice if I can do. 3 is a good day. But it's like I've got to know the sound of every little stone on the earth and the different sounds that crunching sound makes. So I feel incredibly connected to that, and that makes me feel good, that I can hear these stones under my feet. I look at the fields and I feel so connected to the fields because I've seen them go through their whole medicine wheel, if you like. I've seen them go through all their phases, from being a bare field to being a grown field to being a bare field again. So it connects me, and it's what makes me feel whole. And when I'm truly connected to those elements, if I'm having a really, really bad day, and it's windy, I'll come and stand down my meadow and I'll just let the wind take all that anguish, the pain, whatever it is that's causing me a bad day. I ask for the spirits of the wind. Because what we have to remember here, we're talking about elements and we're talking about spirits as well, because there's the spirits of those connections. Thank you. Did you see that? Sorry, there's a bit of activity over there. It's like it was an acknowledgement of when I said that. We acknowledge those elements because they are the spirits. I always say the spirits of the 4 winds. That's the spirits of the north, the spirits of the air, of the east. I think it's very important to do that. And those things can really help you. I mean, the lodges are very healing. So in going back to the north there, the lodge is very healing. So we curl up almost like in a fetus shape again, lay on the earth next to the mother, smelling her fragrance in that heat and working with our breath, because we're breathing in the fragrances as well of the plant spirits, and that is so healing. And then we go out into the cool air. That is so rejuvenating. It's just brings you to life. You go out and you're looking at the birds. When we walk, we're looking at the birds. That's connecting us to the air. We're walking across the muddy fields. That's connecting us to the earth. So when we bring those into our daily routine, into our daily life, and have this absolute respect for them, because, don't get me wrong, you walk out in the wrong place, you go out in the wrong place over there, like in Dartmoor, unprepared, go out on the moor, Mother Nature can be very, very ruthless as well. But usually she's not so ruthless as people are stupid. You have to have a great deal of respect for the elements when you go out in them. So if you do decide to go out and experience these elements full on, just have that mindfulness to be careful, because if you're not careful, someone else has to go and risk themselves to come and find you. So just to have that, bear that in mind. So you do decide to take yourself off somewhere, just let somebody know.
Haven't enthused too many people to climb mountains with no equipment and get stranded or stuck on Dartmoor. Yeah. This is.
Yeah, if you're going to go up a tour on your mobility scooter, make sure it's fully charged.
Yes. And there are so many ways of connecting with the element of air. And you think think for a little while of a couple of those elements, because there's other things that we could we've got lists of stuff we could be telling you, but it's also. It's nice when you think of what an element means to you and how it really affects you, especially if you looking at this for personal medicine and seeing into those aspects of yourself and working in elements that way. It's great because it's you can have 100 people tell you, oh, this is what it means, but actually what it means to you is very personal and much more powerful than anything anybody else could suggest. You know, like you could be in a situation where somebody just say, oh no, the best way of connecting to air is flying a kite. That's the only thing to do. You know, so forget all the rest, just fly a kite. You know, which is like, for them, that might be perfect. That might be the way that they really connect to that element. But for somebody else, it may be that, like playing a flute might be the one that really connects them, and they always know if they need to connect to that element, use that thing. So within all of our suggestions, and of course anything that you might think of, because you might think of things that are a good idea, but they might not be good for you, you know. So it takes a bit of time to work out which ones really work for you to help that connection. Because if you find yourself standing out in the wind and just thinking, oh, whenever I'm out there, I'm just like fighting it and tense up, it's not the medicine for you. Whereas maybe just being somewhere blowing bubbles, maybe that really does work for you. Maybe the flute is the one that works for you. Maybe bird watching is what connects you to the air, you know.
Gardening might connect you to the earth, you know. Not everybody likes a sweat lodge. You know, not everyone wants to go into a sweat lodge. Can't understand that myself. But there you go. Not everyone does,
so those
but,
aspects work for all the elements as we go through,
do.
you know. But you're really, like, once you start to bring your awareness to the particular element and the energy of the element, you're already getting the medicine before you've even decided what you're going to do. Because half of the work, if you like, is really just bringing your attention and your awareness to those elements.
And asking that element, you know, asking the element to help you with whatever the issue is at that moment in time. You know, ask for that help. If you're feeling overwhelmed and you've had a bad experience and you feel like you want it cleansing, ask the spirit of the wind to help you cleanse and blow through you. You know, start to know how these different energies of these elements can be your friend, how they can assist you on your journey. They're all medicine. They're still medicine.
Yeah,
this is what I'm trying to convey.
And when you draw your attention and use a clear intention, then you start to manifest a reality. You know, if you go in there and you know in your heart that if I do this, this is going to be the result. Bingo! Exactly what you're stating is what actually becomes the reality. This is how manifestation works of the medicines.
And hopefully, once we've gone through, like with next week as well, and we bring all the 5 elements in together, it will give you a better understanding what we're trying to achieve here, or as much achieve as to show you. So, you know, like personally, I myself, I'll know if I'm, you know, if I've been too earthy, too grounded, too, you know, I think, oh gosh, Lynn, or I can go, oh Lynn, you're not very grounded, you need to be grounded. So I can see in myself now how I need to look at those elements and bring that particular element into my being for my own well-being, because I might be so grounded that I'm an absolute bitch, you know. So I think, oh, I've been really horrible today. It's because I'm so grounded. I need to lighten up a little bit, so I'll go out into the air, let it blow away, and say, well, actually, I don't need to be quite as down to earth, you know. I mean, sometimes I can be so down to earth, I can be quite cutting. So I know that that's a weakness within me. So I know that I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses within each of the elements. And this is where we're trying to journey you to, so that you get that better understanding of where your strengths lay and where your weaknesses lay within the elements, so that you can use those and work with them. Always remembering that they are an energy, they are a spirit. So always ask for the help, but always say thank you too. Always give thanks for that, because they will help you. If you ask with the right intention, you go in and you don't just summon them up. You say, right, spirit of the air, come and help me. You know, you do it in a graceful way. You're being humble. Always be humble, because I tell you, they kick ass. Beep, beep, beep. They kick, okay? So always be humble when you ask for the spirits of help.
And be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like Spirit is the great helper and great healer, but believe you me, if you ask for strength, it will show you ways so you understand how strong you are. So it will give you those challenges. You know, like be careful, be very specific what you ask for. Why not? If you're going to ask for something, be specific.
I do wish I'd got this book. I will get this book for you, because these two bits here just really stood out to me, and I just like to read you these two bits. These are about, this is working with the element of air. Okay, now people who have air as their weakest element, okay, tend to cut themselves off from society. They tend to be judgmental. They will have difficulty in learning their lessons. They will often go through the same scenario several times before learning it. They also have a tendency towards asthma, eczema, coughs and colds. Air weakness manifests itself in several mental illnesses, which often lead to the exclusion from society, i.e. being cut off from the interaction that brings learning. So that's an interesting aspect if you see that within yourself. Once you get to understand these, now go the other way. The air is dominant in your element. Okay, so people who have air as a dominant element are wonderful at seeing the steps that will lead them to achieving their goals. So they really want to get to the top there, you know. They have strong lungs and a natural ability to learn through social interaction. They see things through and stay the course. So they will stay the course. Air people tend to eat regularly. They like light and are happiest in the light. Air people tend to fear the dark. They feel at home in social situations and are often very charismatic. Now, I expect everyone can see, because it's like a duality anyway, there's going to be aspects of both of those in you. Because I can relate to that. I can relate to some of those. So it's very interesting when you start actually looking at the elements and seeing how you interact with them and how they interact with you. If it's a dominant or it's a weakness within those traits. So very interesting.
And I would say that if when Lynn was reading that, if both of them stood out to you, that's a good example of being balanced within an element. Because if only one of them stood out to you and nothing from the other one, then that would show an imbalance. You know, but if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I'm half of that one and half of that one, good, you're in a good place. And obviously, air isn't the element you need to work with so much. If you get to an element where, like, the balance is off and you're not feeling that, that's when you start to recognise what your medicine is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, everything comes down to this balance. It's all, and it only takes such a little bit to knock us off balance. But those elements, once we get to know them and understand them, they can really help us to rebalance.
Yeah, and if you remember, like, the original picture of that medicine wheel, how balanced is that? And if it's a simple medicine wheel just with a circle with a cross, again, it's a perfectly balanced symbol.
And of course, it's also about being honest as well, and it's looking at those airy traits. You know, I mean, I've seen people that are so out with the fairies. I mean, crikey, they need lead in their boots to try and ground them. You know, and I think, oh gosh, I can be like that also sometimes. I need grounding, you know. So it's interesting because you start to see things so differently. It's hard to explain, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, it's just bringing your awareness round. I mean, it is funny, if somebody is really airy, you can give them rocks to put in their pocket to keep down. I gave somebody a rock like this once to carry. Well, to her benefit, she kept it for a long time. I don't know if it grounded her out that much. But
she did. She
let's see.
Carried it a long time. But, you know, another way of connecting as well, and that's very important, is when you wear. Now, this stone here connects me very much to the land that I live on. This came from my beach here. Well, it's not my beach, but the beach here where I live, and it's a hagstone, so it had a natural hole in it. So I was able to thread it, and I wear it, and that means more to me than I've got diamond necklaces in there. I've got gold necklaces up there that I've had over the years. But this stone from my beach here and where I live, this just means a lot to me. So that connects. Now, this other little necklace here that I wear is a very good friend of mine. This was a fox's tooth. And I work very closely with the energy of fox. Fox means a great deal to me, and this was dipped in silver, and I wear that, and that was gifted to me. But because I gifted the tooth, and then it came back to me into this shape. I don't know if you can see it, but so I'm very connected to. But that connects me also to the place where it was originally found. The fox originally found was in a sacred circle that we work at very well. We go there very often to work. So there's all these connections that connects me to earth. These two things connect me to earth. But then we can also say this connects me to spirit, because this fox was dead. This one also connects me to water because it was on the beach. So there's this duality and there's this thing going on. It's everything's connected. We're all connected. But
and as the seasons merge into the next season, the elements merge into the next element. Because although, like, to learn from this, it's great to see this. I don't particularly like the word, but to get the medicine that everything's kind of separated, but we mustn't forget that it's actually not separated. The separation is the illusion. You know, everything's one, and the spirit of everything is in all the elements, is in all the cycles of all the years, of all the days, of all the lives. So it's one big happening, you know, like 200,000 years ago there was a tiny little Big Bang, and this is it. It's one event, it's still happening. We are that event, you know.
And just some of the things we didn't cover, I don't think, like other things of getting getting to connect with air. Clouds. There's nothing cloud watching. Oh, I mean, that connects you. Really does connect you. Looking at the big birds, especially birds of prey, I mean, that they see with such clarity.
Playing with balloons.
Balloons, yes, balloons.
Playing with balloons.
There was something else.
Smoking. Now, some of you will go, I don't like smoking, but it does connect you to air, and it's usually in your lungs. You know, it's a great connector to air and to earth and to the plants, whatever. But you know, I know it's non-PC these days, but don't forget that tobacco and like whatever else you might be smoking are sacred herbs that man has been using for thousands of years. It's only a brief blip in their history that it's suddenly become something terrible and not sacred. You know?
But again, it's the way it's done, isn't it? I mean, you do it in a sacred way. You know, you give thanks for that plant, because it is a plant. It's plant spirit again. You know.
It's the same with so many things, isn't it? People abuse food. You know, like getting back to the old burger discussion, or like eating like the root vegetables at the right time of year. You know, you can use it, abuse it, or have no awareness of it.
It's interesting because I used a statement I haven't used for a while to somebody who was discussing food the other day, and I said, you know, basically we eat for entertainment. You know, and that's what we do. We eat for entertainment. It was interesting because, you know, I read out those extracts for you over the air. I'm wondering whether we'll go back through the earth. But have a look and see yourself. Have a look and put it. You do a little note for yourself. Put north, put air, and then write down earth traits that you have that are positive, earth traits you have that are negative. Do the same for air. Put down. Have a look at yourself. And be honest with yourself. You know, it doesn't matter because you're not going to discuss this with anyone else.
You're not going to share it.
You're not going to share it.
Just for you.
Just for you. So then write down your air and write down air traits where you feel that you're weakest and air traits which are your strongest. And be honest. Be honest about it. And then and have a look at them and see how you can work with those and implement them. Because they're medicine. You know, the elements and working so connectedly to the earth and to all of the elements is medicine.
Yeah, and that's a really good technique. We use that in groups at times, and because we're using it in the group and people are sharing, what happens is it stimulates your thoughts and increases your idea of what the air traits might include. But like when you're doing it at home, just it can make it more personal. I love doing it as a group, though. It's just the fact that there's always people going, oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I didn't think of that. So it's a great way of sharing that information.
And talking about sharing information, I've actually got it here for you. The extracts that I've been reading there with the traits that fit in with those elements is the extract's been taken. It's from the Celtic Wisdom. It's the book Celtic Wisdom by Andy Baggott. All right. And I can really highly recommend all Andy's books. He's an amazing author and he's written some really good books. I don't often recommend books. I usually say throw away the book and come from your heart. But he's mindful of information.
He's actually an amazing teacher as well, isn't he? You don't want to listen to us, you want to go and listen to him.
Yeah, I mean Andy is now. He's also, him and Debbie. We're good friends and we're very connected as well. And we lodge at the same time as they lodge, and we send little messages back and forth because we're like soul sisters. So but I'm so glad that I've got that. So it's Celtic Wisdom by Andy Baggott, and you will find him online. And if you tuned into the Rooted and Wild when we did the Rooted and Wild festival, he's also got 2 workshops on there which were amazing.
Yeah.
So do listen to some of his teachings as well, because he's an amazing guy. Okay. So we really would like your feedback on this. We'll leave these in there because we've got our next one.
Yeah, next Friday we're going to be doing this again. So we can leave everything just like this.
We're going to leave it all as it is. But do give us some feedback. We do like to hear the feedback. If there's anything that we've said that you don't quite understand and you want to speak to us privately, that's fine too. You can either Facebook message us, either myself or Bruce, or you can email us, whatever you'd like to, if you want to do it privately. And we'll be only too happy to explain if we can. If we can't, we'll just tell you. It's quite simple.
And that's about it. Next Friday, same time, we'll be in the same place. You don't have to be, because you don't know what you're watching on, but you don't necessarily have to be anyway.
We'll run through some chants with you next week as well.
Well, we're going to go through a couple more of the elements. Well, the other 3 elements. We were going to do a chant at the very beginning, but we seem to have gone past that point, didn't we? So it wasn't meant to be.
No.
But we were going to do a chant earlier that we decided to do at the end of the next part, because I think it's more relevant there.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you want to be part of that chant, you'll just have to come next week. I should be in marketing.
You should be. It's good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks
again
for coming.
Sharing with you. And if you have any ideas for anything in the future you'd like us to do while we're still all in this lockdown and stuff, just gives us some suggestions. We won't promise, but we'll see whether something like we fancy. Oh yeah, we could do that. So if there's anything you feel that you would like us to share, some ideas, and we'll see what we can do. All right, and I'll be back with them. We'll be back next Friday.
Next Friday, 7:30. Remember to keep eating and to keep breathing.
Yay!
Love you all.
Night.